Crazey Apey back here once again, and today we're going to be talking about Pete Rose. Should he be banned from baseball? And for those who don't know about this, you might want to go and Google and do some research on this. But I'm pretty sure people viewing this right now, they know the situation. Pete Rose bet on baseball. He got banned in 1989 and has been on the banned list ever since. So, the discussion is today, should the ban be lifted, and really should he have been banned from baseball even from the get-go? So, let's dive into this, but first what we're going to do, we're going to go back in history a little bit, because we need to discuss a little bit about how this all began. What caused, them to put this rule into place in the first place. Because this rule was not in baseball when baseball first started. So, we're going to jump back to 1919 to when what is now known as the infamous Black Sox scandal. Interestingly, they've been tagged as being called the Black Sox due to the scandal, but the truth is they were called the Black Sox before the scandal even had happened. So, this definitely did put a black eye on baseball. Now, what happened was the 1919 Chicago White Sox was facing the Cincinnati Reds in the World Series, and they were paid by gamblers to throw the games. So, now you would think that this would be something immediate that they found out. There was rumors circulating already during the World Series that the fix may have been on. There was rumors that previous World Series may have been decided by gamblers. And yet, this one doesn't even get the attention right away. Even when people think that this may be going on, it doesn't get the attention right away. It's almost a year later before it kind of explodes, if you will. Everybody goes apey over it. And so almost a year later, before the next year's season's over, which interestingly nobody really discusses about that season for whatever reason, it explodes, it becomes a big deal, even goes to court and everything, and they're actually not found guilty in the court of law in 1921. But by now, they have put into place a commissioner in baseball. See, in 1919, there was no commissioner of baseball. But now they put a commissioner in place, and the commissioner says, you know what, I don't care what the court said, I'm banning these guys for their involvement in gambling. Now, if you look at the rules, it actually even says, owners who participate in this can be banned from baseball. Well, here's what's interesting about the whole thing. There's a lot of stuff that can't be proven, especially now. It's been so long, none of these people are alive anymore. So you only have the few reports that are out there. And there are several reports, but some of them aren't even 100% accurate in the first place, so it's hard to say what is and what is not. So, but what's interesting, the question that you kind of I go back to and look at is, should even the 1919 White Sox been banned from baseball? Because at the time of what they did, there was no rule. Was it wrong? Yes, it was definitely wrong. It was completely unethical. And they should have been punished. There should have been a suspension. But there was no rule saying you're going to be banned if you do this. So that raises a question, should they have even been banned? There's a lot of discussion as regard, it revolves around Shoeless Joe Jackson, because many reports are saying that even though he accepted money, but he was reluctant, and there's reports saying that he actually went to the owner of the White Sox, which was Comiskey, and told him, like, look, this is what they're planning on doing. They're planning on not even trying to win. I don't want to play. I don't want to participate in this. And Comiskey told him, according via reports, Comiskey told him, no, you're going to play. So there's rumors that Comiskey even was aware of the fix, knew it was on. So who's to say he didn't get a slice of the pie and made some money off of it? We don't know. There's just no evidence, and there's no evidence to fully say that Shoeless Joe Jackson was not involved. But, there is some evidence on Shoeless Joe Jackson because Jackson had a great batting average, actually played a great series on his part. But you got some of these experts, so-called experts, and believe me, as this goes on, you're going to find out what I think of experts. Don't think too much of them. Let's put it that way. Crazey Apey does not think too much of the experts. So, the experts will tell you, well, he started doing better once the series was basically over. Really? You got to keep in mind what the infamous, most famous, love the guy to death, bless his heart, Yogi Berra, he said it ain't over until it's over. And that is 100% true. So sitting there to say when the series is already over when it's still being played, I do not accept that reasoning whatsoever. Don't like it. No. Yogi Berra said it. Take it to the bank. It ain't over until it's over. So, I don't buy into that theory at all. So, but did the White Sox take money to throw the series? Yes, that's a fact. We all know about that. That is 100% true. Now, who all was involved? Buck Weaver said he started to be involved, but then he pulled out and said, I didn't want to be a part of it. But we can't prove that beyond the shadow of a doubt. Joe Jackson said he was aware of it, but he never was actually involved on throwing the series. And even his teammates have confirmed that. They said they just put his name out there to the gamblers to make it look like, he was in on it too, to support their claim that they were throwing the series if they put Joe Jackson's name in there too. So Joe Jackson really got a raw deal. If there's one player that we can say who probably should not have been banned, it's Shoeless Joe Jackson. He probably should have got a suspension, but he should not have been banned from baseball. And once again, there was no rule at the time that this would happen. And that raises a question. If they had known that they would be banned from baseball by doing this, would they have done it in the first place? Some of them probably would have, but Buck Weaver, Joe Jackson probably would not have, especially Joe Jackson. The man, I think, could barely read and write, if at all. So baseball was his meal ticket. So would you risk it if you know, I do this, I will not play baseball again? Probably not. So the whole being banned when there was no rule, that was pretty harsh punishment right there. Now we fast forward all the way to 1989. And here's what I find very interesting with that. Now you got to realize that White Sox scandal took almost 2 years before they came to something about that. Do you realize Pete Rose, when the news broke, and I believe it broke in the winter of 1989, by the summer of 1989, Pete Rose was banned. That's how quickly they acted on this. And ever since, any scandal, anything that involves in baseball, it takes months and years to do anything about it, such as the steroids. It took them years before they finally put something in play on steroids. But yet, in just a matter of months, they came to a decision on Pete Rose. Really? So an investigation on Pete Rose, which was headed by John Dowd, was no doubt a witch hunt. They wanted Pete Rose, and they wanted Pete Rose badly. They wanted him out because the man was a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. This man probably and should have rightfully gotten a unanimous vote. I mean, he was the all-time hits king. Nobody is going to pass that, at least not anytime soon. So there's only one way you keep a guy out that you don't really like in the first place, is if, hey, we get him on the betting on baseball, he's out. We don't have to worry about it. We don't have to vote for him, nothing. So, should Pete Rose have been banned from baseball? Now, the first thing the media experts are going to say is like, well, it's in the rule book. It's in the rule book that you're not to bet on baseball. You don't bet on baseball. It's in the rule book. It's been in the rule book since 1921. That's what they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you that, you know, he should be banned from baseball. He knew and he did it. He should be banned from baseball. Here's the difference between what Pete Rose did and what the 1919 Chicago White Sox did. First of all, the White Sox 3 games in the World Series. That's a big deal. If you can tell me that Pete Rose participated in throwing a World Series, yes, he should be banned from baseball. But let me tell you something. The John Dowd report is very revealing. Did Pete Rose know what he was doing, and did he know what he was doing was wrong? Yes. But there was one line Pete Rose did not cross. He did not bet on his team to lose. So therefore, he never bet for them to lose. Therefore, he never did try to throw a game. Because when it comes to baseball, it's not like some of the other sports where you can do point shaving and still win the game. Baseball, the betting is simple because there's not, for most part, not much runs are scored. I mean, you have so many 1-0 ball games or decided by 1 run. So the point shaving, that doesn't mean anything. It's win or losing. Simple as that. Win or lose. Pete Rose loved to win. The man hated to lose. It was almost against his baseball religion to lose. So throwing a baseball game was inconceivable to a man like Pete Rose. Now let's face it, his track record supports this. The man who's played in more winning games than anybody in the history of baseball. So how can you sit there and say that, well, do we know it's true that he never bet against them or he never tried to throw a game? I don't think Pete Rose knew how to throw a game, to be quite honest. So what Pete Rose did and what the White Sox did, they're not the same. The White Sox intended to lose. Pete Rose still wanted to win. And I'm sure his mentality, because he was a gambler. Pete Rose admitted he was a gambler. He still is a gambler. Hey, I may as well bet on the sport I'm playing, but I'm going to bet to win. Because that's what I do. I win. I play to win. So he bet to win the games. Now, let's not confuse, not being banned to not being punished. No, he should have been punished. And even by his own admission, if you Google and you go and look it up and you see him when they make the announcement, or they're talking to Pete Rose, and Pete Rose thinks he's only going to be out for 1 year. For whatever reason, and we don't know what was discussed or verbally said, but obviously Pete Rose came from the meeting thinking, I'm only going to be out of baseball for 1 year. He did not understand that, no, you're being banned. You're only going to be eligible to apply for reinstatement in 1 year. Not the ban being lifted. For the life of me, I don't know why Pete Rose agreed to the ban. I don't think he should have agreed to the ban. I think he should have agreed to some lesser punishment of being suspended. But Pete Rose, it took a long time, and I think the number one reason why the sports writers, yeah, you sports writers who are holier than thou, yeah, I don't care for much for the sports writers. Y'all don't get it right. You're all wrong more often than you're right. So I would love to have a job where I could be wrong most of the time and still have a job. And that's you sports writers. Definitely you sports writers. You all are such idiots. Actually, no, you're all baboons. Sports writers, you're baboons. You're holding against Pete Rose because he denied it for so long. That's the thing. I don't like the fact that he denied it for so long either. I wish he had come clean right from the get-go. And let's face it, if he had played for somebody else other than the Reds, especially if he'd have played for the New York Yankees, you all would have lifted the ban a long time ago. And don't get me started on the other crimes that baseball has committed, such as the owners, Bud Selig. You two have committed worse crimes in baseball than what Pete Rose did. Pete Rose bet to win. What Pete Rose did not alter the games at all. We didn't lose a World Series. A World Series still was played that year. Baseball continued on. No issues. It continued on. It was scandalous. He shouldn't have done it. No doubt. He should have been punished for it. No doubt. But banned for life for betting for your team to win? Really? Come on. Really? And like I said, if he'd have thrown baseball games, he'd especially thrown the World Series, yes, you're out of there. That's the biggie. The World Series is the holy grail of baseball. You mess with the World Series, that's where we have issues. That's why there's such a big issue with what the Houston Astros did. Now, did what the Houston Astros do is worse than Pete Rose? Now, believe it or not, I could do a whole video on what the Houston Astros did. And as a matter of fact, I probably will, because I can go on a long while on that as well. But what did I think the Houston Astros did was worse than what Pete Rose did? Yes, I do think what they did, because they actually altered games. They altered a World Series. For that, I do think it is worse than what Pete Rose did. Because what Pete Rose did not alter anything. It didn't get him more hits. It didn't get him more wins. It didn't change the outcome of baseball. But what the Houston Astros did has changed the outcome of baseball. I mean, you have to look at it differently now. What Pete Rose did didn't change anything. What the Chicago White Sox did, it changed things. Because we will never know, because that was actually a very good Cincinnati Reds team in 1919. We will now never know, would the Reds have beat them if not for the fix? We're not going to know. We'll never know. Same way with what the Astros did. We'll never know now who would have really won the World Series. We don't know. But yeah, I'll have to discuss that in another video. So, bottom line is, should Pete Rose be banned from baseball? No, he should not be banned from baseball. He should have received a suspension, at least 1 year, maybe 2 years. 2 years probably would have been more appropriate to really let it sink into him as to what he did. And baseball's getting it wrong now. You could use Pete Rose, especially right now with the coronavirus. You could use a guy like Pete Rose. Lift the ban on Pete Rose, put him on a probationary period. And he's old. He's not really going to have an impact on baseball right now. Could he be? I would have Pete Rose, put him on a probationary period, go around, once we get over this coronavirus that's spreading around, once we get over that, have Pete Rose go out, talk to every single baseball team, particularly at the spring training camps, have him visit, have him discuss the effects of gambling. And, what not to do. Don't try to get away with it. Tell them it's not worth the risk. No, it's not worth the risk to jeopardize your career over betting on a few baseball games. And another issue, what I find very interesting, because you look at steroids, they have different levels of steroid of a form of punishment. Why not have that with the betting? I mean, if you bet to win, you shouldn't be treated as harshly as somebody who's throwing the games. It's not the same thing. If you're betting to win, you're not altering the game. You're still trying to win the game, which every baseball team should be trying to do anyway, is trying to win the game. So, that's the bottom line. Pete Rose, yes. I don't think he should have been banned in the first place, but should the ban be lifted? Yeah, the ban should be lifted. People commit worse crimes and get a lesser sentence than what Pete Rose is getting. If Pete Rose had killed a man in baseball, yes, probably should have. And don't get me started on the whole Ray Fosse deal, because that thing has been totally misrepresented. People say it ended his career. No, he continued to play for several seasons afterward. So too many people are holding Pete Rose accountable to things that was beyond Pete Rose's control. But at the same time, what was in his control is what he did do wrong. We get it. So, lift the ban, bring him back on a probationary period, and especially right now, because baseball needs a shot in the arm right now. They really need it. This would be a very positive message to send, and also send Pete Rose out, sound the message, don't make the same mistake that he did. So, that's it for now. No longer discussion about this. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. There's more to come. So enjoy the rest of your day or evening, whatever time it is. So AP and out. Take care, everybody.